Hello, Neuse Little Podcast listeners. Allow me a moment to promote our new official Neuse Little Theater merchandise. This can be bought at any show we have, any show in the 50th season that you come see. You can go up to the merch table and ask the man or lady, and you can get your official NLT merch. Here's what we have. We have hats, toboggans, hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, and we even have big and tall sizes. Just ask the person and they'll set you right up. We also have blankets, pins, keychains, stickers, tumblers, frosted pint glass, coffee mug, aluminum water bottle, backpack, and tote bags, etc. We have it all. Be sure to check out our special anniversary merchandise, including our t-shirt featuring all the shows of our historic 50th season. Thank you, and thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome to Neuse Little Podcast. This is an audio presentation featuring the backstage antics and stories from your favorite log cabin located on the banks of the Neuse River in Smithfield, North Carolina. Please help us celebrate our 50th anniversary season by purchasing tickets on our website, neuselittletheater.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the various podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Now please, enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Neuse Little Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Gore. That's my producer, Mita.
Hello.
And we have another exciting episode for you today in podcast land. We hope your new year is off to a good start. I'm here with a small contingent of the cast of The Foreigner, and that's going to go up at the Hut on February 14th, 15th, 16th, 21st, and 22nd. That February 16th show is at 3 p.m., and that's a matinee, and it always gets full. So if you're trying to go to that show, go online and get your tickets at neuselittletheater.org.
Yeah, I was going to say we're like 3 weeks out recording this, and we're at like 90% already. So
excellent. It is the third show of our 50th anniversary season. It is directed by Tony Pender. And I'm going to introduce the cast here in just a minute. But we also have auditions for Steel Magnolias coming up right in between the shows, February 17th and February 18th. So if you want to come out and be a part of another classic of the stage, come and audition for Steel Magnolias. That's going to be directed by Stephanie Varen. All right, let's talk to the cast. Okay, sitting across the table from me is a very nice lady. I'm happy to have her on the podcast. But she's playing an extra in this, but I'm going to talk to her more about her past experiences. And introduce yourself, ma'am.
I'm Amy West Whitley, and thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. And sitting next to her is the lovely
Madi Lee.
And I'm sorry, what character are you playing?
Oh, and I play Catherine Sims.
And you have a character name? You're just an extra, right?
Just an extra.
Okay.
Slinging coffee, biscuits, and being a surprise character at the end.
We'll talk about those surprise characters in a little bit. Sitting next to Madi is
Randall Lawerence-Hurt. I'm playing David Lee.
All right. And then for the first time on the podcast, we're happy to have him here. It's Maddie's first time and Amy's first time as well. But I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a little while, so I'm happy you're here. Introduce yourself, sir.
Eric House, and I play Ellard P. Sims.
All right. We got a good group here today. I'm excited to talk to them. But I'm going to start out. Could one of you, because believe it or not, I've never seen The Foreigner. I was supposed to see it in Benson. They did it maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And something came up that day where I couldn't attend, so I did miss that performance. Sorry, Maddie. But I've never seen it. So somebody give me a synopsis.
Basically, a young man from England is brought to a hunting lodge in Atlanta by his friend. He's going through some stuff and doesn't really want to talk to anybody. So his friend tells everyone at the lodge that he doesn't speak English at all. And then his friend disappears, and our main character, Charlie, is left dealing with the fallout of what his friend has told everyone, which develops in some surprising and unexpected ways, especially at the end.
Okay. So it's kind of like a comedy of miscommunication?
Absolutely. There's a lot of that.
Okay. Maddie, tell me about your character.
Alrighty, my character is Catherine Sims. She was a debutante growing up, and she's engaged to David. and her younger brother is played by Eric. His name is Ellard, and she lives in the lodge with the older lady named Betty, and they're very close, very tight-knit family, and her father had passed away, so she's inherited the money, and so she's a hot commodity. She's fun.
This is your first show with us, Madi, here at Neuse Little Theater. I've worked with you, I want to say twice, yeah. You were in Clue as the bellhop, and you were also the singing telegram girl, I should be more specific, as the singing telegram girl.
And the cook.
And the cook.
And the cook. And also, I worked with you on stage during 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, where you were...
Schwartzy.
I was going to say Schwartzy. I can never remember the characters' names, but that was great fun. What's it like being coming here to a totally new theater and a totally new experience?
It's been a lot of fun, especially because, like, the way things work is different, and so it's been cool, like, just seeing the different processes between theaters and everything.
Mm-hmm. I always say that. I've said it before on the podcast, that, like, if you're an actor who does a lot of community theater in one theater, you should branch out and try to do something at another theater, because a different perspective kind of, you know, and especially here, we can sometimes get set in our ways, but a different perspective is always helpful, and there's more than one ways to skin a cat, as it were, is what I'm trying to say. And it's always good to have a different perspective. Okay, and so you play her brother, Eric.
Yes, I do.
Now,
I'm actually reprising a role from 20 years ago.
Okay, and you, Madi, are reprising a role from Aunt Benson. You play the same role, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's interesting. What's it like stepping into this character 20 years later, Eric?
Far cry from what it was 20 years ago. I believe this is one of the first shows where half the cast has already played their role previously. I think it's myself, Charlie, Catherine, and maybe one other person.
David, who plays Charlie, right? If I'm not mistaken, he played Charlie a while ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, who plays Owen, he's had that role before.
Yeah,
I think.
Michael Carney. Yeah. I wanted to get him on the podcast. He was one of the first people I had because I know him from the Gilbert. And he said he couldn't because he had plans with his dad this weekend. I saw him in a production of Othello. And he played Iago, and he was excellent. So I'm happy to see Michael come down and do a show with us. Okay, so tell us about your character, Randall. You play the bad guy, right?
No, I don't. I don't know what you're talking about. I play the extremely good-hearted and thoughtful young pastor who is engaged to Catherine and quite happy about it, and looking forward to building a strong, vibrant community in this little suburb of Atlanta.
Amy,
Yes.
I said I'd get to you and I'd talk to you about your past experience. I remember working with you on Suddenly Last Summer with Ken Mitchell Jr., and I had a story all saved up. It's not much of a story, but it does. Whenever I think about you, I think about this. So it was my first rehearsal for Suddenly Last Summer. Now, Ken had told me, I don't know if he told anybody else, but Ken told me I was very much a supporting character, and he told me not to show up for 2 weeks. But I don't know if he told anybody else in the cast that. Because I showed up there, and Evelyn's just looking at me like, who the hell is this? And me and Evelyn didn't know each other at that point. But we got to be good friends during the production of the show. But I remember I was doing a scene with in the play, she played my aunt, Anita Liverman. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time I had ever read that. I had read it before, obviously, the whole play, before I got there. But I hadn't walked the scene yet. And we were done, and you just came up and said, like, this scene isn't working at all. And I remember Ken going just like, we just started. But I remember you mentioned being bad cop. So I definitely remember you that day going like, this isn't working at all. What's going on? I'm just like, I just got here. He told me not to come the first 2 weeks. Did he tell you?
There were some scenes, the shows we did. There was a show we did, this girl, I just felt like her character was completely inadequate with what we wanted to convey. So I worked with her every night. She ended up winning a Canon, and I kind of take a little bit of credit for that. But the show was very dark. We've done some really dark shows in this theater.
And did you always work with Ken? You all worked with Nancy some, didn't you, too?
Yes, Nancy and I co-directed quite a few, and I really enjoyed that. I was hoping that Dearly Departed would come back. I always thought if NLT was going to go over financially, if we just didn't have enough money, we could do Dearly Departed every weekend and be millionaires.
Haven't we done it 3 times or 2 times? We've done it at least twice.
It's been done twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it twice. The problem with Dearly Departed is I don't know if you could get away with some of the stuff in this day and age because it's a little insensitive in a couple of places, but it is very funny.
Well, luckily, there's no problems at all in this play with anything
Oh,
that's
none at
insensitive
all.
or controversial,
Oh, no.
frightening, possibly career-ending.
Well, the difference is you're making fun of the bad guys in this play as opposed to that one. You're kind of making fun of kind of a serious situation in a couple of places, and you're just like, "Ugh."
And when you give your curtain speech, be sure to remind them of that.
Yep. So, I mean, I tell people that all the time. It's like, I know everybody's going to freak out because of the bad guys in this play, but I'm like, you do realize that we're mocking them, right? That's how you...
Wait, we are? This totally changes my perception.
People will just have to come to the show and find out what happens to said bad guys in the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to the show and how have rehearsals been? Tell me how have rehearsals been for you, Madi?
They've been really good. It's very different from the second time, or from the first time that I did it, and so it's definitely challenged me to like push myself, and so that's been really cool to like dig deeper into the character and like what is really going on with her and everything.
Right. Now, I think it's Randall's first time, and obviously yours, but tell me about working with Tony. Tell me about working with Tony, because if I had to venture a guess, Madi, is that you played the part one time, and you go like, well, I got a pretty good handle on this. I've done it before. And then you showed up, and then Tony had a very different idea than what you had. Is that correct?
Oh, 100%.
You were like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, take us through that, what it's been like working with Tony, and everybody else. Think about your answers also.
I'm always amused by that kind of question because that's like, tell us how it's going. It's crap.
Yeah, I know.
Everything is garbage. I don't even know why I'm here.
You're not going to say anything bad, obviously, but feel free to speak your mind, and then if it's too hot, I'll cut it out.
Yeah, no, it was really hard, especially in the beginning. And it's kind of been, I had to relearn the lines with no emotion. And so while we're in rehearsal, I'm having to relearn how to say the lines because I was coming in hot. I was like, oh, I know this. And
Hey guys, played this before. What about you? And then Tony's like, oh, you're going to be doing it this way.
Yeah, because originally I had her, she was like very angry all the time. And so he was like, she feels other things other than anger every once in a while. And so because it's just built into my brain to be said a different way, just having to go, okay, we'll dump all that in the trash. We're relearning it. And so it's been really cool to see a whole other side of the character. So
Yes. What about you, Eric?
For me, 20 years ago, we went a different direction with the character of Ellard. 20 years ago, it was a little bit more... he was slow, dim-witted, very good-natured, very friendly, but he was just, he wasn't all there. And now this character, having that character in my head for 20 years, I'm having to basically rebuild him from scratch because Tony is probably one of the most challenging directors that I've been a part with. And but for me, Ellard had to... He's more on the spectrum this time around. He's still very good-natured. He means well. He works on a different pace, and we're using that where he's a little bit faster on stage than slow, and he also still has a little bit of comic relief, which is always fun. But it's definitely like Madi, where it's like you come in with one thing in mind, and then within 2 hours of the first read-through, you're like, I don't think this is going to be exactly what we did 20 years ago.
Right.
And it probably shouldn't be.
That's what I was about to say. You took the words right out of my mouth. It shouldn't be. It should be different.
And that's what I love about the set is completely flipped horizontally from what it was 20 years ago, which is, it brings its own set of new things as far as getting used to the new blocking. Also having a character that's moving around a little bit more and not just stationary to a chair. That's a big change. But it's been great. That I do wish the lines would come a little bit easier after 20 years. I can't remember as much as I did 20 years ago, apparently. But I think the general sense is still there. It's just ironing out a few things and just trying some new layers.
Okay, Randy. Before I ask you, when I saw that you got when Randall got I've worked with Randall several times on 3 or 4 plays, and
4 or 5.
and I was happy that he got this part, but I'm not involved in this play in any way. So I was interested to see how Randall would react to a different type of director, because Tony is definitely a different type of director. Where they've all said it, where he was like, "I think this is going to go one way," and then Tony's like, "You do you?" And then it's like, "We're going this way." And so what's it been like adapting to that? And I also described it as like, "Well, Randall, I've kind of spoiled you.
You have.
I kind of let you do your thing, and I'll come in and fix it if I need to." But that's not. Tell us about
That's
this.
not
process.
the way Tony operates, and I don't mean this in a negative way. I enjoy working with Tony, and we worked together obviously on Lion in Winter just last year. We acted alongside each other. But as a director, he has a very specific vision for how he wants every aspect of the play and every character to be. And you've worked with me long enough to know that, at least when it comes to my parts, I also have a pretty clear vision for how I want my character to be, and I have been doing it for a while, so I'm usually fairly forceful in how I want to portray that. So Tony and I wouldn't say we've butted heads over anything yet, but there have been some conflicts in our vision, and it's the interesting challenge for me as the actor has been remembering it's my character, but it's his play.
Right.
I need to I need to deliver the vision that he wants for the show, not the one that I want. So
right.
It's been interesting. It's been challenging. It's been good. I think it's going to be a fantastic show, and I definitely think the character will be different than I would have portrayed it left to my own devices, which is not a bad thing.
Right, and it stretches your muscles. First of all, you don't want to get complacent. I asked Randy to help me with my homework a little bit because I haven't seen the play, and we're doing another podcast after this one. So I came in and I'm just like, yeah, all right, what are the themes of this play again? It sounds crass, but what are the themes of this play? What are some, in your eyes, now you guys that are familiar with the play, what are some of the themes that jump out to you?
Relationships, various degrees, communication, lack of communication, heroism. In some regard, being caught off guard, thinking a character's one way and they end up being another way. I think there's a natural flow, evolution of each character is what we've been told. That's what we're trying to achieve. Line? That's pretty much how it's been going.
There's an important theme running through of how your initial perception of someone might stick with you, even when the evidence flies in the face, and you should change your opinion. Maybe you don't want to, and you stick with the original, even though things are not the way you initially thought they were.
Okay. What about for you, Madi?
I think, especially from my role, I mean relationships and the sake of like being close to your family and leaning on your family, chosen or by blood. And then also, having to deal with relationship troubles with her fiance as well. And just having to be like, okay, well, that happened. Where do we go from here?
Let's talk about some other members of the cast who couldn't join us today. David, who plays Charlie. Let's talk about David a little bit. I worked with David in Explorers Club. He was excellent. So tell me about working with David. He's been in one other play here. He usually does stuff closer to the Raleigh area. What's it been like working with David?
High energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very high energy.
David's great. He's such an expressive actor. Like his face, his body movements, more so than certainly more so than I tend to act. But it's whenever he's on the scene, you're always in a tug of war with who's going to get the audience's attention because he's so interesting to look at with his choices.
Yeah, he has a really good high energy that's so easy to feed off of. And I mean, he's not speaking in half the time I'm talking to him. And even then, it's like so easy to pull from that energy.
An actress named Nancy Huffaker is playing the role of Betty Meeks. And what's it been like working with her? What is her role in the show again? Betty Meeks?
Yes, Betty Meeks, she owns the lodge that the foreigner is set in. And she's really close with Catherine and Ellard. And she's kind of like surrogate grandma, so we're very close with her.
Nancy's a hoot. I don't know if she's done much acting before, but if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say she's done a lot because she stepped into the role and it just seemed natural from day one.
Mm-hmm. And we got Shane. This only guy I don't know. Shane Klasowski as Froggy Lasore. All right, tell me about Shane because he's only. I think he's the only one on here. I don't know.
He gets the ball rolling with the English accent, and he's got a great. He's like 6'5". I mean, he's got some height to him.
He's a big stage presence.
He comes right on, yeah.
He's the one who brings Charlie, the foreigner, to the lodge, and then kind of abandons him there after telling everyone he doesn't speak English.
Gotcha. All right. So, as you guys open in about 3 weeks ish, and how are those lines coming?
I mean, I'm off book, so.
I'm off book.
I knew what you wanted to hear, man. I gave you what you wanted.
I don't know about these other plebs, but I am.
For me, it feels like I've had to spend so much time kind of reinventing Ellard that the lines are coming a little bit differently as far as the memorization. They're still the same lines from 20 years ago, but because everything is so different from my character, it feels like I'm having to reword. My cadence is a little different this time around than it was 20 years ago, so my muscle memory is different as far as how I deliver the lines, where I'm at delivering the lines is different. So it's very different, and it's more challenging this time around. But 3 weeks, I think we always agree. We always wish we had that one more week come Hell Week, but I think we'll be fine in 3 weeks.
This show is particularly interesting, and Madi can talk more about it, in that multiple characters have just a wall of text. They'll just have like a multi-page monologue, and those are always something you're struggling with up until the last minute, I think.
Yes, and that's partly because every time you're having a conversation with Charlie, you're the only one talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a page and a half of dialogue where it's me just talking to Charlie, and Charlie's just staring at me. And so the first time that I did it, that's actually the one spot where I forgot my line, which is obviously the worst, especially because he would sit there and stare at me like, come on, you got it. And I was like, I don't know if I do, but we're going to make up something. And thankfully I was able to pick it back up. But
I was telling Madi, that must be the most stressful thing for the person playing Charlie in a play like this, to be in a situation where you know your scene partner needs help and you're not allowed to talk. You are not allowed to help.
Yeah.
You could probably have a drinking game of how many okay, yeah, good. It's just one, not even one line, but one word that comes for a whole page of dialogue.
While I have you on, Eric, you had a front seat to this great story. Happened not too long ago. Mm-hmm. The play was Witness for the Prosecution.
Yes.
Directed by Madi Toole. She's already laughed. Tell us. I was there that night, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened that night to that.
I believe
that
you're
poor
referring.
bastard.
You're referring to a rip-roaring adventure of live theater, and I was unaware of what happened. I wasn't actually looking at what happened. But if you want to start,
no, go with the full thing. Just
okay.
like you, just tell our audience like it's the first time.
From my perspective, this is totally from my perspective. We're sitting there doing lines, myself and one other actor on stage.
This is a performance.
Yes, we are live. I don't know if it's the first night or second night, but I'm in the middle of. I guess we're just having a standard back and forth conversation. Next thing I know, I turn back and I look at my fellow actor. I can't remember his name, but the character was supposed to be sitting on a chair backwards, and apparently he just got up and ad-libbed something and just walked off stage.
Yeah, he was supposed to be straddling a chair, and when he went to straddle the chair in center of the stage, his pants ripped. all the way.
And I was unaware of this.
And Eric couldn't see it.
I was unaware.
Wow.
From ankle to crotch.
Apparently-
it was the whole.
Apparently, he
insane.
hulked out of them, and I had no clue. And I was speaking so ill under my breath.
I saw Eric was so mad because Eric, in reality, he ran off stage and he had to go get pants. And it was probably about 2 to 3 minutes, but it felt like 15.
That is eternity. When
Yes.
you're on stage.
Mainly because I didn't know until much later. I
Yeah.
thought that's one thing you don't do.
Yeah,
You don't just
he
leave
thought
a guy hanging on
Eric.
stage.
Eric thought that the guy had abandoned him on stage, and he's just there like,
What are you going to do?
But
Sit
wait,
there shuffling papers?
What was funny, I just kept looking at my portfolio, or I had a little piece of paper in front of me, and I'm just kind of staying in character. I could have dozed off and just
Patsy.
I had narcolepsy, but we had Patsy would come in as the maid or the
she came in for
assistant.
tea for like 2 or 3 times. She was like, "How's that tea going, guys?"
Patsy and Mike Rumble
Yeah, they
would
both
take
took turns.
turns, come in every
Yep.
about 20 seconds or so and go, "Are you doing okay?
Mr.
Can we
Mayhew,
get
are you
anything?"
okay? He's like, yes, I am.
The audience must have thought this is like suddenly this is just a play about a lawyer's everyday
Yeah.
life. He just sits there shuffling papers. And
The
people
audience
bring him
saw
tea
it
and
'cause
we're
they all
doing this
went,
for 2
"Oh."
hours.
Yeah.
The audience went like, "Oh no!"
I don't even think I heard a rip. I didn't hear a oh crap. I didn't hear nothing other than just the chair move and he walks off. And
That is a nightmare.
it was either intermission or after the show. I said we all got to sign his pants.
Yeah.
I mean, like whether he keeps them or not. That's I mean,
He better keep
I
it.
just know Steven, after it was like, he comes out to the porch when things like that happen. He comes out, he just shakes his head and he's laughing. And so I was outside during this, and he comes around the corner going, and I'm like, oh God, what happened? He goes, your boy
literally
ripped his
is-
pants. And I was like, what? And he said, I'm standing downstairs, and all of a sudden he comes flying down the stairs. And I'm like, what are you doing down here? And he's like, I got to get new pants.
I think he had to try on like 2 or 3 different pairs. And
Jeepers.
but it's one of
Not
those,
the time to be picky.
It's literally an actor's worst nightmare is for something to screw up on during a live performance.
For both of you. That's the
Yes.
worst nightmare
Yeah.
for both of you.
Because you can try to be as prepared to handle that situation. It's different when you have to help someone with a line and try to make that as seamless as a transition. If someone messes up a line, you have to try to help them without giving it away. Well, there's no giving this away. Like this dude clearly, I thought it might have been a minor rip, but then when my wife was also there with my mother-in-law and my mom, he hulked out of his pants. And I was like, thank God he was wearing like long johns or something.
I know. Very dangerous situation.
But I was petrified. I was like, how long is this guy going to be off stage until I realized what was going on?
Local community theater gets
Oh,
shut
man.
down for accidentally running a strip show.
That was tough. That
That
was
is one twist Agatha Christie didn't see coming.
Murder's not the only thing that was announced.
The moral of the story is make sure your pants are loose enough.
Yeah.
give me some slack.
They're probably pants that he found from downstairs.
I think so. I think every outfit he had during the show was from downstairs.
Yeah.
Jeepers.
Okay. All right. Before we wrap up, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least bring up the white elephant in the room. Have you guys blocked those scenes at the end with the Klan people and whatnot that is germane to this show, the bad guys? So I know we tell the story all the time about how when we did it last time. Go ahead.
Well, the first time we did it in 1988, first time we were in this building, the stage was down here on the staircase side of the building, so they didn't have a permanent stage yet. And they came in from the back porch, and so all the Klansmen were lined up on the back porch. Now, you have to remember, this was 1988. It had only been about 10 years since they took the Welcome to Klan Country sign down on Market Street, basically coming into town.
Right there at the bridge.
Right at the bridge. And so it was like, yeah, that's wonderful. And then the second time we did it, which was about 20 years ago, Ken could not find anybody to play those parts. I mean, there's tiny parts, really. They come on, they make a mess, and then they leave, and they're never seen again. But so he had a real hard time, and we were sitting around the bonfire at his house one night, and his neighbors were there, and they went, we'll do it. We want to be in a show. And he said,
Little too
really?
eager.
And they go, okay. Well, it was 2 women, and one of them was African American.
I thought I remembered someone.
Yes.
She got the most applause.
Good for her. Taking it back.
Oh yeah, they came out in full regalia, And when she whipped her hood off and took her bow, you would have thought she was like a celebrity. It was really awesome.
Yeah, that was always interesting about don't step out there and take a smoke break on the front porch.
Yeah.
You know, go to the back porch.
All right, gang. Do you guys have anything else to say? Amy, is there anything else you'd like to share about your experiences at NLT?
I was just so glad to come up here that night to audition because I went straight to Tony and said, I'd like to audition for one of your non-speaking parts. And he just laughed at me. So it's real thrilling just to come back. And I knew Eric, and now I'm meeting all of these very talented people. I'm really excited. So, and thank you again for having me.
Well, I appreciate you coming by. I really do. And Madi, this being your second time playing it, but the first time in our humble hut.
It's been a lot of fun. I've loved this show. This is one of my favorite shows that I've ever done. So,
Well, we're
not
happy
really
to have you.
challenging, but
Yeah. All right. I'll do you next. Anything you want to say before we send it out into the podcast? This will go up in like a week or two.
20 years ago, this play was the second of my NLT career. The first show was Harvey, and then the very next one was this one. And I believe it was this show that my grandmother broke her wrist at intermission or right before the curtain went up, and I didn't realize it until intermission that she had broke her arm. And
She tripped over the stairs there on the stage.
so she sat through an entire show with a broken wrist, and I had no clue until about halfway through, and there's nothing I could do at that point. So there's a lot of full circle moments coming for this show, and having Amy be a part of that 20 years ago, and Sean was also a good buddy of mine from college, was also part of that director and assistant director tandem. But I've loved this show. Definitely has a soft spot for me. Eller does. Thank you very much, Matt, for having me on.
No.
Finally.
Thanks, Eric. We've known each other a while.
Yeah.
We've been in plays together. We've been in a lot of auditions together. A lot of times it seems like
Pretty much the same characters, I think.
Yeah,
we're
it's
up
between
against.
you and me.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like if like we're like the two big guys.
You,
know?
me, and Daniel. I think now we're the hefties.
Yeah. Well, we're both working on that now.
Yes, sir.
In our own ways.
Ironically, I think I'm 100 pounds lighter than I was 20 years ago playing this character.
Well, congratulations.
So the overalls fit a little bit better this time around.
Yes, nothing can last forever, can it?
Nope.
Randall, what do you have to say until we hear you on the very next podcast that we're going to do?
Well, it's a super fun show. It's an incredibly strong cast. It's going to be great. This is the second show in about 2 years in which I've played just a horribly, horribly racist, awful human being. So my wife is less than thrilled about that. But if you want an opportunity to come cheer for everyone else and boo me specifically, have fun. Come and join us.
Is she helping you with your lines?
No. I'm not making her do that.
But it is very satisfying. I don't know. There's something about playing an evil preacher that is very satisfying. I don't know what it is.
It's a new one for me. It's fun.
All right, gang. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for spending your Friday evening with us. That is much appreciated. We cannot wait to see the show. We know you're going to put on a good one for us. Our third show in our historic 50th season here at Neuse Little Theater, and that's going to go up on Valentine's Day, Friday, February 14th, 15th, with a matinee on the 16th at 3 p.m., and then the following weekend on the 22nd and 23rd. All right.
Yep, because nothing says love like racist.
That's right. Thanks again to Mita for coming up here and setting all this up for us. We couldn't do it without her. Oh, and please go and grab some merch. When you come see a show, grab a T-shirt, grab a hoodie, grab a toboggan, or else Stephen calls it a winter hat.
Or a breek.
Never heard it called a toboggan.
What? Yeah, no. So you're from up north. You've never heard it called a toboggan.
A toboggan is the
It's a
long
sled.
sled
A
thing that you
sled.
sit on.
Yeah.
No,
It's a
in
beanie.
the
Down
South,
here.
it's a toboggan. Stephen calls it a beanie or a knit hat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a beanie.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's discuss the differences in language from region to region in the United States of America.
All right. But yeah, we have a lot of merch, and we have to get rid of it. So come by and buy
Yes,
some.
please.
Yeah.
Hoodies, we're down to, I don't know, I think we're out of like larges and extra larges. I think we might have a small, couple of mediums, 3X and a 4X, and I think that's all we got left.
Come down and pick up your official 50th anniversary NLT season shirt. We have those in green. The red sold out, I think.
No, still got a couple of reds, but yeah, we've got mostly green. Apparently, red was the color. We went with green because of Wizard of Oz, and everybody wanted red.
Yeah.
Not really sure.
All right. Until next time, I am Matt Gore. That's part of my producer, Toole.
So.
Until next time, we'll talk to you later on Neuse Little Podcast. See you later.